Hey guys, it's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. I think before I do any real work, it's very important to open these fine products I got on the free table at work today. I think someone was clearing out their old Star Wars inventory. So this is now an unboxing channel. I hope you guys like the change. No more art. It is all about unboxing. So after cutting a piece of tape here, this is fairly simple. I used my opening express X-Acto knife. Now the cardboard lip on here feels pretty sturdy. Like I wasn't afraid that I was going to rip it. One thing you'll notice, this has not stood the test of time. You can see the bubble over this this cockpit. Now we're going to look at the back here to see exactly what this is. I believe here we go. This is a TIE Fighter Pilot in Flight Simulator is what that is. And so you can see there previously was a plastic bubble there that is no longer. So you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the product is going to be in good shape. After we get it open, how long do I feel like unboxing videos are always like 20 minutes to half an hour long. So we're gonna go for at least twice that today. You'll notice this is a Gloob product. This was after Kenner no longer had the exclusive rights to Star Wars. It's also a Micro Machines sub-branding in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were trying to make their go at it. So you can see I've got my fingers inside the outer shell, and I've got the cardboard inner box firmly grasped, but this is really difficult to pull out. I'm almost using all my strength. Now granted, today was tricep day, so my arms are not at their full capacity, but I would not be surprised if a child had difficulty opening this product. So we're going to set this aside to keep it as close to mint as possible. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing is that we've got some instructions that have fallen out. It looks like some decals, a decal sheet, pretty standard. Oh, this is interesting. You could join an official Star Wars fan club, but it costs you money. You have to pay $13 a year to be part of an official Star Wars fan club. That is quite a relic of the past, I have to say. Kind of nostalgic for that sort of thing. I remember paying for my subscription to Nintendo Power magazine, you know, paying them to advertise to me every month. Let's see. So yeah, here's that bubble. Oh, Van Morta, hello, welcome to the Josh Foreman unboxing stream. Now, there's a piece of cardboard that's under the tape and close to the other piece of cardboard, and it looks suspiciously like a cricket leg. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just an oddly shaped piece of cardboard, but that's, you know, just something to note in an unboxing video. Let's go ahead and peel that tape away carefully and see if we can identify what this object is. Okay, it seems to be stuck pretty well. I almost don't want to touch it because, you know, if it's a bug leg, that's kind of gross. Let's see how close we can get here. There we go. What do you guys think? Is that a bug leg? Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just a piece of cardboard that got some of the glue on it there. I'm not quite at the level of pro unboxer yet where I know the technical names for all the parts of the box and the packing material, so I apologize for that. We'll learn it with time. I'm probably by my 100th unboxing video, I'll have a better apprehension of the technology used here. Now you'll notice I'm going for these figures first, and I have to say, the way this inner box is laid out, it's brightly colored, it has little figures you just want to immediately touch and play with. I think 90% of people who are opening this box are probably going to go for that. So I'm trying to simulate as close as possible the users, you know, the first time users, non-professional unboxers experience. I think that might be my subgenre of unboxing videos. Cardboard, yeah, Fanmort, I agree, it's probably cardboard. Now, this is a little disturbing. You can see there's these two, well, I guess it's one that loops under twist tie, you know, thing. Oh, it is two. It twists underneath. But I have no idea what it was holding. Previously, it looks like there may have been some there too, also not there. So this is very strange. I don't know if there are missing components or what. Alright, so here we have the TIE Fighter in the cockpit, the simulated cockpit, and it looks like he does not come out of there. But it has some fun decal graphics pre-applied. We don't have to apply them from the decal sheet. That's pretty nice. How am I doing, guys? Are you on board so far with changing this channel completely to an unboxing channel? Okay, this is an Imperial Recruit. Sorry, it looks like I'm a little out of focus here. Alright, it's got a copyright on there, 96LFL. The paint on it's reasonable for the size of the figure. It's, you know, it's not immaculate, but given how tiny these guys are, I'm not at all disappointed. Oh, this guy. Another recruit. Now here's an interesting thing. You know, Galoob went through the trouble of making two different dyes for these guys. These are two different figures. They didn't need to do that. They could have just painted the hair a different color, but these are actually slightly different poses. Are they different enough to warrant having two different dyes cast for these guys? I don't know. What's interesting is you can see here, let's get a close up again. You can see that there's a gap here between the staff, the training staff that he has, and his arm. This figure, there is not. And so, looking around trying to see if this is just an error in the, you know, the molds get old over time and eventually they wear down, but it looks like no, that is actually a deliberate modeling choice that they made. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to ding them for that decision, because it, you know, practically the same pose, but moved just enough where they felt like they had to fill in that gap. I do not agree with that decision. So we'll just make sure when I'm giving the final rating at the end that I remember to keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to set these three components aside here. I'm going to go ahead and just dispose of that element of the packing. Okay, so the first thing, you know, I want to do is I just want to pull this open, but I'm feeling resistance. It looks like there's some tape here that's probably loosened with age. This is a 19-year-old product at this point. This is from, well, I'm guessing it's from 1999 when the Phantom Menace came out, although come to think of it, it could be earlier. I'm going to look on the box to see if there's any indication of that. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking this had to be Phantom Menace, but it really doesn't. Products shown will become available at different times in 1997. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is pre-97. We're talking over 20 years old at this point. This is older than my children. All Alright, so here we have, you know, one component. It's sealed. Oh, not sealed. It's just loosely held in a bag with tape. It's fine. Given that this is the third layer now of wrapping. Letha Baki, hello, welcome. Welcome to Josh Foreman's unboxing channel. I decided to rebrand. Breath of Life Art Studio was too difficult to rename. I didn't like that, you know, it sounds like Breath of Life Fart Studio. And so I decided, rather than change the name, I'm just going to change what the channel does. And we're just going to do toy unboxings from now on. Okay, so I'm assuming this is the cockpit. You know, in fact, I'm not even going to look at the instructions. I'm just going to do like a impatient child would, and just start popping things in place that look like they should go there. And it does indeed look like that is where that goes. It looks like you can spin it like so to give the guy some TIE fighter training lessons. Yeah, so we'll set these components aside as well. Okay. Another part. This looks like. I'm thinking this is, oh, now this is interesting. So they twisted the bag, pulled it down, and taped? I think that's tape. Yeah, they just taped over it. So I'm gonna again use my X-Acto knife. Not quite in the wild unboxing. Most kids are not gonna have a hobby knife for opening, but I guess honestly, I haven't found my unboxing voice yet. I haven't quite decided my style of unboxing. I'm finding it now. So, I mean, you guys are pretty lucky to be in on the ground floor of this new change that I've made to the channel, to kind of see my unboxing voice develop. Okay. This is a funny thing about, on the back of the box, they show all the various accoutrements. You know, Imperial Recruits, TIE Inceptor, rotating radar dish, and then here they have flying sticks. And that's what these little plastic bits are. They're flying sticks. I don't know why they thought they should call that out on the box art, but there you go. Looks like you might. Oh yeah, look at that. You pop it through. Yeah, so these actually rotate to loosen the flying sticks enough to pull it through, I believe. Can't quite tell which direction to pull it yet. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, now the flying sticks are out, ready for action. Okay. And I'm guessing this is the final component of the TIE Fighter helmet. Go. Anything in that piece? No, that's just a spacer component. That is, I'm just going to give this a quick shake, make sure there's nothing else in there. Letha says, I finished the latest story in my Guild Wars 2 with Mom, Serena, and Michelle. It was super fun. And then, you really need to work on your unboxing voice. Not enough squeeing. You know, to be honest, all the unboxing videos I've seen have been very monotone and matter of fact. Maybe I've watched the wrong ones. To be fair, I have not watched many. Probably 3 or 4 tops. But, you know, I gotta say, so far, it is way easier than making art. Let me tell you. And have you seen some of the numbers for you know, unboxers who make it big? Wow. I'm talking millions of viewers. I've got my pathetic 15,000. You know, clearly I'm doing it wrong. So, yeah, it's time for a change of pace. We're gonna do unboxing from now on. So that looks like that snaps into place relatively easily. Oh, no, not as easy as I thought. You know, clearly this needs to snap into place there. Okay, so yeah, that's better. Okay. Yeah, and that is a reasonable facsimile of a TIE fighter helmet. I mean, it's shiny. It's got some different, like a faint misting of kind of pearlescent blue paint over the eyes. Yeah, I really can't complain for given, you know, it's a one-piece dye job. It's done quite well. This back area, very underwhelming. These patterns don't say Star Wars to me at all. It looks like they were, boy, that's just the laziest kind of tech pattern I've seen in a long time. Yeah, you can see here 1996, Louis Galoob Toys. But I think that doesn't matter because the playset is meant to be, oh, now how do I open it? Okay, it's meant to be laid down like so. And so yeah, you're not gonna see this ugly pattern here. See, this piece slides back and forth. This one, I'm just gonna, let's get our instructions out now. Okay, oh, there's all these labels to attach. Where'd they go? Oh man, that might be getting dangerously close to art, though. I'm afraid if I start applying labels, I'm gonna have to use some kind of skill. And that is not what unboxing videos are about. Okay, so I can attach, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not going to apply the labels for right now. I don't believe in labels anyway. Okay, so this, attach a stand. Oh, there's a stand here. Interesting. I'm not sure what that is meant to accomplish. Looks like it goes this way. Aletha, you just haven't lived. You need to start getting into unboxing videos. I mean, I find them incredibly boring myself, but it's clearly where the money is, and it's, like I said, it's just way easier to do. Why should I be spending all my time and effort making art when I can just open things and talk about them while I open them? Okay, and let's see. This is not fitting. Oh, there we go. Just needs to be snapped into place. This little guy here looks like it goes. Oh wow, this is an intense simulation ride here. Not only does this poor little TIE fighter spin like so, but he's also getting flopped back and forth like crazy. Okay. I guess really what that's about is it can fold back in when you're done, when you want to fold it up into the display mode, which is probably where I'm going to keep it in perpetuity. So that, oh, wow, the vehicles, that must be what was missing. I have a feeling the box that I had vehicles in here that were taken out somehow. Although it was taped together really well. But, unless I somehow missed them in the box. But yeah, there's supposed to be a TIE fighter and an X-Wing fighter as part of this playset. Unless, let's see, does it say sold separately? No. Back here again. Yeah, it definitely does not say sold separately. Wow, that is weird. I guess there's no need for these then. Boy, man, I'm really sorry to let you guys down. You know, I expected to come to come out of the box swinging as like, you know, one of the top unboxers, but now I feel like I'm going to be a laughingstock of the whole genre. Like, how did I miss that? It's just little guys, but no ships? No ships. Man, alright, well, I guess, you know, I gave it the old college try. I figured I could make a quick buck as a professional unboxer, and I screwed the pooch. Sorry guys, I guess I'm gonna have to count on being an artist again. I really feel like I disappointed everyone, and I apologize for that. I was gonna have this big, like, surprise, hey, surprise, we're doing a way cooler channel than, you know, making art or whatever. And yeah, and I screwed it up. Sorry. Maybe if I'm feeling ambitious, I'll do this one next time. But yeah, right now I feel I'm just really defeated. I did not think it would require any skill to do an unboxing video, and I was wrong. Mad props and respect to all you unboxers out there who would have noticed a glaring problem like that. Yeah, Letha, you should be disappointed in me. I am disappointed in me. I think we're all disappointed in me. I got the set at work. It was on the free table. We have a table where people dump stuff that they don't want anymore, and that was among them. Let's see. We've got this character. I felt like I might be able to finish up tonight before I do the sculpting, just because I'm trying to make equal progress on the sculpting and the illustrations. I had a long meeting yesterday, so I was able to really crank through a lot of this character. She's a little goofy looking, I think, which is exactly how she's described in the book. Let's see, she's a waitress with sandy hair. Oh, sandy hair. Whoops. Well, I'll just add more highlights. Or I'll just change the word in the book. Heavy earrings, check. Tiny mouth, crooked teeth. So, I believe it said, when Bowmark saw her, he thought that she had too many teeth for the size of her mouth or something like that. Anyway. Yeah, so I had to look it up for reference. I was like, how do you get too large a teeth or crooked teeth in a tiny mouth? And yeah, I found something that looked a lot like that and just kind of copied it. Boy, that light is just glaring off of that, isn't it? No, that's worse. Do you have a place where it won't glare? No. Okay, that's less glary. This character is doesn't have a huge role in the story, but when characters have more than a line or two, if it feels to me like I can illustrate them relatively quickly, I'll go ahead and do that. She's a waitress in a tavern in the Rumshaw capital of Central Place. And she kind of begs Bowmark to take her with him, kind of implying a backstory for her that is never really explicated. But it's fun to leave those kind of things open for potential other stories or what have you. She's not mistreated at her job. But if I recall the conversation correctly, it's more along the lines of like she kind of got herself trapped there economically, or something. Although the economy of the Rumshaw is very odd, in that they have this system where they roll a dice and you have a 50-50 chance of either paying double or paying half. Or is it getting it for free? It's one of those. And when Bowmark sees her, it's the first time he's seen a young woman in a long time, and he's like slightly smitten with her, even though he recognizes that it's probably because he just hasn't seen a woman in quite a while. So I decided to make her well endowed for the presumed straight male gaze. And it's funny, when I'm when I've been drawing this character, I kind of feel like a sleazebag. You know, I'm like in a meeting or whatever, and I'm drawing this. It's like, okay, guys, look at the rest of my sketchbook. Okay, this is the rest of my sketchbook. It is not filled with large-breasted anime women. In fact, let's look at all the other women in here. We've got this one who's wearing a breastplate. You wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. We got monsters, lots of monsters. Yeah, actually, you know, I don't have a lot of women in general illustrated. Maybe that's my problem. Let's see, Bowmark sketch. Let's see, this is a woman, but she's invisible, so that doesn't quite count. There's Bowmark's mom. There's his sister, kind of adopted sister. Here she is when she's older and very angry at him. So yeah, like, if you just see a dork in a corner, like with the sketchbook, and this is what he's drawing, you're going to make some assumptions about the rest of his work that in my case just aren't valid. But that's okay, there's a lot of that about me. If you look at me in general, you get all sorts of assumptions about the kind of person I am. It's just the price I pay for looking the way I want. Automod held a message. Oh my. What was the message? Not sure you remembered her. AJ says, I think that boobs aren't something to be afraid of anyway. Yeah, I mean, in the perfect world, they're not. Although, I also have a concern that this outfit is not sensible workwear for a tavern wench, if that's the right, I don't, you know, a tavern server. I don't know, is wench a necessarily pejorative term when we're talking about kind of medieval times? Or was that just a descriptor for a female server? I honestly don't know. But she does have an interesting backstory, and back then people did not have a ton of clothes. It's quite possible she came into town with this outfit and kind of got stuck washing dishes, and, you know, well, this is her clothes. It's not like she's gonna spend a bunch of money to buy a different set of clothes for her temporary job while she's trying to skip town. Insult and a descriptor? I think so. Hey, Dragon Roll, sir. I mean, I think straight male gaze is a valid is a valid concept, a valid term. It's sadly become highly politicized. But I mean, the idea that, I mean, all it is a descriptor of a demographic. Yeah, when writing the book, my co-author Rose was sure to have a few just kind of offhand comments about Bowmark's, physical desires. He's a young man, and he's out on a big adventure, and he's got no human lady folk around. So yeah, he's gonna struggle with his desires, and like that's a legit part of a challenge as being a man. So I like that it's mentioned. That, and like he gets sick because he's on a new continent with all sorts of new viruses and diseases, and he had to swim through really cold ocean water, and he got sick. And it's like, yeah, that's a thing that would totally happen on, to a real person in a real new environment like that. So I really like those little touches of humanity that are in this story. That is one way that our book, our stories in general in Talifar, that's just an aesthetic that we have that kind of sets us apart from the typical young male power fantasy that most of the fantasy genre tends to revel in. You've got a young man with no, he's escaping the responsibilities of where he grew up, gets away from his parents, or his parents are killed or whatever, and then he's just like becomes this invincible killing machine that just goes across the countryside being a hero. So we're trying to buck that trend a bit with the lighting on this piece. He's in a darkened tavern. So I was just doing like a strong like candle or firelight of some sort, and then in Photoshop when I scan it in, I'll just replace the background with black, and so she'll have a nice there's a word for that. I was just watching a lecture series on Leonardo da Vinci and tenebristic. I think it's tenebristic. Let me look it up. Dark, gloomy, mysterious. Tenebrism. Here we go. Let's check this out. These are tenebristic pictures, where it's all dark in the background, and you just see the light illuminating the skin dramatically, and folds of clothing and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going for. Thought it would be good and appropriate for this piece. Aletha, you're making lots of colorful salamanders to pawn off on people. Alright, I know what I'm getting for Christmas. I think we still have some of your gingerbread pirate magnets. many of them did not survive the refrigerator, so many of them fell and snapped. But I think we still have a couple. Aletha, you've worn corsets before. Is anything jumping out at you as being wrong about this one? Because I'm such a prude, I had a hard time researching corsets. And it's hard because a lot of when you do an image search for corsets, you mostly get like models, modeling products. It's hard to find like real people wearing them that aren't, all photoshopped or whatever. Yeah, dude, hey! Good evening to you. I was just listening to your guys' last Gamers podcast. It was about Nintendo shutting down the ROM sites. Makes me very sad. And yeah, why the heck do they not just sell ROMs of their old games? I mean, I know exactly why. Because they're assets for the company that they can leverage whenever they need to. So it's like having fat, right? If you're a polar bear, you want to keep as much of that fat as long as you can, even if you're not necessarily using it at the moment. But yeah, you can't be Lars Ulrich forever and be like, digital distribution is, we gotta control it. It's like, no, you can't do that. It's not a viable long-term solution, you guys. It's humid out there. Yeah, you're East Coast-ish, right? Yeah, I feel like a Nintendo ROM for like a 8-bit NES game, I think $3 is fair. I think for a SNES game, $5. For a N64 game, $10. It's fine. They'll make so much money. So much money. There's no way they can't run an emulator on the Switch for each of those devices. I would be shocked if there wasn't someone who's figured out a way to rig an emulator to a Switch already. Letha says, the corset looks okay to me, but I'm not an expert. I stopped wearing them as much for things because they kept moving my lower ribs. Yeah, that's kind of what they're designed for. Sadly. Don't like the humidity. Me neither. Humidity is awful. Yes, of course, Aletha, you can share the link to the hidden level on sale for 99 cents. Woo! I'm still waiting for the audiobook. Sorry. I'm almost exclusively an audiobook reader now. because in the evening when I used to read physical books in bed to go to sleep, or ebooks. No, actually only I've never read an ebook. I still haven't read an ebook because I never got a Kindle, and I know you can do it on your phone, but that sounds awful. But I'm spending all my time, my bedtime, reading Telefar novels and noting, editing things we need to do, and recording what illustration need to be in the chapters, and the little I'm putting little like lore bits in world, so diegetic things in the beginning of each chapter. So like, here's something the Sea Folk Atlas says about this region, or here's a law of these people, and whoops, Bowmark broke that law, that sort of thing. Really fast and easy way to do world building. It just makes the world seem more robust and alive and designed than we've actually done so far. Audiobook by December? Excellent. Waited till Mom gave me a Kindle to get ebooks. Even then, I had it for over a year before I actually set it up, but now I love it. Yeah, I'm sure that once I get one and start using it, I'll be like, how in the world did I ever live without this? Just like, I put off having a decent cell phone for as long as I possibly could. I never got a pager, so I managed to avoid that whole thing. I was an adult back when pagers were a big thing, but yeah, I did not want to have any part of that. Another one I managed to avoid was a fax machine. Never had a fax machine. When I'm doing these wrinkles, I try to first kind of roughly sketch in the directional lines that the fabric is going. So it's pinching in, because it's what is the word for that? When you take a wide amount of fabric and you kind of tuck it. There's a word for that. Bunched up is the word I'm going to use. And then it kind of flares out for these poofy-ish sleeves. It says I was on Josh's live stream last week. It's on YouTube if you want to see our shenanigans. That's right. If you want to see Aletha talking about books and making beautiful little dragon sculptures at the same time, check it out. Yeah, dude says, I swear I'll never be super wealthy because I would spend all my wealth investing in other creators. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping to do with my business, is to provide a platform for people to contribute their own stories and voices to this. It's within the confines of my fantasy world, but I feel like there's a lot that can be said and done in it. In the same way, like, you look at Marvel movies or Star Wars movies or whatever, and like how much room there is for being making cultural or political statements and that sort of thing. My only requirement for other contributors is that they agree with me that they want the world to be a more loving place and that their story can somehow contribute to that. That's why you can't ride in my world, because you want the world to burn. Ah. Then you should write songs for Tool or Slipknot or someone like that. I feel like this wrinkle needs to disrupt that silhouette line. Alright, thanks for stopping by, yeah, dude. Have a good night. Since this is kind of overhanging a little bit, this whole section down here should really be shaded a little more. Because it kind of poofs out and then back in. I should really like look up reference of this. Man, it's just, there's times when I feel like I just don't have time to look up reference for everything to get it just right. It's just gonna have to be good enough for now. These are really just kind of first stabs that later hopefully I'll have people who are way more talented than me who can come in and do the better version of all these illustrations and designs. Is it pleated? No, pleated is not the word I'm looking for. What is it called when a garment is bunched up? gathered. Music sounds wobbly. There's an awful lot of reverb on the guitar. Is it just this song that sounds wobbly, or is it all of the music you're hearing? Can't hear anything. Now a new track started. Can you hear anything now? Still wobbly or fuzzy? Okay, I'm going to turn the music up for a second and tell me if it still sounds weird to you. Sounds better. Okay. Maybe it was just a matter of it was so quiet that only certain wavelengths were getting through. I'm going to try it at negative 14 decibels. Tell me how this is sounding to you now. If it drowns out my voice too much. Or, you know, if it drowns out my voice just the right amount to where you don't have to hear my terrible voice anymore. It's good where it's at. Excellent. Collarbone should be catching enough of the light that it's going to, let's see, there's going to be a divot on this side of it for the strap shadow to fall down a little bit, and then wrap around the collarbone there, and then it's fairly flat along here. A little bit of divots for the what are these? What bones are these? Let's see, clavicle, sternum, the sternum ridges. We want to pull out a few highlights from these little petal bits. I wish I could aim better with this thing. Actually, really, that would be a better job for watercolor for the highlight pass. Need to get better at thinking about how I'm going to integrate the pencil. Like last time I was talking about, there were all these spots where I should not have gone in and done all that detail on, like on all the little rope strands and stuff. I should have just done the highlights first and then gone in the highlights with the paint and then gone in with the pencil after that. Yeah, I just posted my latest Shadow of Colossus video this morning, which if you're watching this on YouTube, was yesterday morning. And man, I feel like I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. Like I'm almost remembering the time I was working on these pieces. Like the first, so this was video number 14. The last 13 videos, it was like a different lifetime. I barely remember that Josh or what he was doing. And this was the first one where I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that now. I remember doing those things. Still have no idea how many videos it's going to take to finish it, but this is the first time I felt like, okay, this might be done someday, instead of like, I don't know if this will ever be done. The more I practice illustrating, the less I have to keep going back over the same areas over and over again to re-darken or re-lighten. I'll just kind of have the whole kind of pictures, tone, and values in my head. But I mean, this is a good example of where this is a combination of kind of trying to do something a little more ambitious with the lighting, and it's kind of it's a complex shape. I'm dealing with fabric and anatomy and folds and wrinkles and tenebrism all at the same time. So yeah, I keep going back and forth over and over the same areas. It's really annoying me. Yeah, lights at the end of the tunnel are usually good. Unless, as Metallica so subtly put it, it's a train coming your way. I have a feeling this is gonna, yeah. I'm not gonna finish this tonight. What time is it? How long have we been going? Gone over an hour. Yeah, I don't want to spend another hour on this. This will be another day or two. Alas, alack. Goals are subsumed by other goals, such as sculpting, and at some point I gotta like eat and probably take a shower or something. So let's look at where we are here. I did a spray coat on Mr. Bowmark here to get that scar. That's the word. It's a scar. And I'm pretty happy with the way the little sew bumps worked out using that acrylic gesso. It's much more aggressive up here on the top, which I don't think I have a problem with. Not yet. I mean, scars heal in different ways on different parts of the body. There's all sorts of noise in the system that could cause something like that. The scar removal up here, scar and tattoo removal. I think when I sand it down and re-primer it, I think that's going to be good as gold. think the little lines that you can see in there, that's from the strokes of gesso paint. And so they should sand down pretty easily. You can kind of see some of the edges of the gesso past. You know what? I'm just gonna. Sorry, I keep wanting to not have to do the refocus thing because it holds that UI up there for so long. And that's super annoying, but eventually it goes away. You know, I'll bet if I just went on a forum for this camera and asked, hey guys, how do I get rid of all of the UI for streaming? I'll bet someone would know. I do think this scar is a little too open, like it looks like freshly slashed. So I'm gonna... Should I do more gesso in that, or should I use epoxy clay? Problem with epoxy clay is that when you have to sand it down, it doesn't necessarily sand down great. Who is this? California. Hello, California. Okay, make sure you take the trash out when you get back. It is. Okay. Tell your sister I love her. Bye. Okay. My son was mysteriously gone when I got home. Fortunately, he's 18, so I don't have to care about it. But it was very sweet of him to still call and let me know that he's not dead. He's a good kid. Assuming he's not out making me a grandfather right now. As long as he's not doing that, he's a good kid. Alrighty. What else do I need to do? Oh. So it looks like the gesso did not quite get in there quite as much as I hoped, but I'll bet a second layer would do the trick. So I'm going to go ahead and just do another, give it another gessoing. And then, let's see, that will leave, I believe the only thing that will leave left to do is getting his tattoo back on there. And oh, that might finally be it. I might finally finish this thing 28 years later. I don't even want to go back and see how long I've been working on this. Especially since, I mean, it started as a 3D print, you know. And I got it done on a really nice high-res printer. None of this insane work would be necessary. Or, well, at least less of it. But on the other hand, you know, I may have left that scar that really bothered me there. And that could have haunted me the rest of my life. Would have been like, why did I not move Bowmark's scar? It's so dumb that that scar goes right over the tattoo. What was I thinking? So yeah, maybe it's for the better. You can't prove it wasn't divine intervention. Monster Cesare says, looks good. Did you use an FDM printer? FDM prints are a huge pain. Get looking good. To get looking good, I assume you mean. I don't remember what the different names are. You can see in here what the surface looked like originally. Very kind of rough and sandy and yellow. I got it done at a place that my cousin works. But I recently bought my own printer, one of the resin ones, and again I can't remember the 3 letters that you string together, but it's the one where there's just a little tray of resin and there's a metal plate and it just slowly raises up. It's got a little LCD screen, a 4K LCD screen about the size of a cell phone underneath. It like flashes, sets the resin, it goes up a pixel. Flashes, sets the resin, goes up a pixel. And from all the photographs I've seen, that's the highest quality style printing that they have. You know, it only cost me $1,000, so it's not like the best 3D printer out there, but it's gonna get me a heck of a lot closer than this one. DLP. Okay. I'll never remember that. What does that stand for? Digital laser projector, digital LCD print, dynamic love potion. What does DLP stand for? The specific brand I got I got it used from someone, and it is a Frozen Make. Frozen PHROZN. I believe it's a Korean company that makes it. Might be Chinese. I know there's a $450 Chinese made one in that same category. I don't know if it's technically a DLP or not, because I know there's ones that's a screen that does the flashing, and then there's one that has a little like laser on a 4-axis, you know, little that moves back and forth type. I'm not sure which one that is, but it looked like the cheaper Chinese one just required a lot of tinkering, and 3D printing on the consumer level as it is requires a lot of tinkering. I did not want to have to do more. I'm really bad at technical stuff, so direct light projection. That makes sense. Direct light processing. Okay. Some of this up real quick. So I guess both the LCD screen type and the little Etch-a-Sketch arm type are both DLP, because they're both using direct light. Just different methods for putting the light on there. And from my reading, it looked like those two have advantages and disadvantages. The advantage to the arm type is that it can do curves better, because a screen, it's limited to the resolution so you can get a little bit of stair-steppies on flat curves, depending on how high resolution your screen is. Monster Caesar, do you have a 3D printer? And if so, what kind? And is it awesome? These are things I want to know. I want to get more and more into 3D printing. Oh wow! Did not rinse that brush off well enough. If it uses a laser, it would be an SLA printer, stereolithography. SLA as opposed to DLP. Okay. I thought if these were soaking in water, they would not be destroyed like this. This one's still almost usable. Not that it really matters. At a consumer level, the detail level are pretty equivalent. Yeah, that was the impression that I got. You have a Form 2. Oh, lucky. I wanted a Form 2. But gosh dang it. It's expensive, and like I probably would have considered it, but the fact that the resin, I think I remember that it's proprietary, and they say you should only use their brand of resin with it, and it's like double the price of other resin. But yeah, those Form 2 prints look amazing. A Monoprice FDM printer, which is a glorified glue gun. You had to sell a kidney? Okay. In that case, you're not lucky, you're just super dedicated. How much does a kidney go for? Are they... I want to say it was like, was it $3,500 to get a Form 2 new? Yeah, I was super tempted, man. I had a commission, actually, that I can't really talk about right now. But it was almost the money I was going to make would almost cover a printer, and then the deal was I would print out the ZBrush sculpt I was doing, and that would be the customer's end result. But later they decided they would just do fancy rendering rather than printing and photographing it, because a 2D image was going to be the end result anyway. So instead I got a $1,000 printer. Smaller brush. It's not doing what I want. Actually, I guess once I wipe it off, it is kind of doing what I want. Formlabs do have their own resins, but you can use third-party if you like. Resin formulation has a huge impact on print quality. I have seen some bad results with cheap resin. Formlab resins are expensive, but they have good results. Oh, okay. That I can believe. I wonder if it's ever going to get to the point like it is with 2D printers now, where when you run out of ink, it's literally cheaper to buy a new printer than it is to refill the ink. Yeah, it's a pretty messed up system. The fact that it is that way, I think, is more of a really unscrupulous business strategy than it is a like an artifact of the way technology evolved. I haven't used my printer yet. I just went through a gigantic rigmarole I had to download a new image for it, and you had to use tweezers and take the machine halfway apart to take this little SD card out and replace it with had to be a brand new SD card. You couldn't just reuse the one that was in there. So I had to buy a new SD card, go through all these crazy instructions for installing, like you had to like wipe the disk with a very specific program, and then you had to get a special kind of installer to put the software on it, and all of this was relayed to me by a guy whose first language was certainly not English. Half the directions were in Chinese. If I didn't have an IT friend, I would have been hopelessly lost. So we got through that part of the process, and I'm just like too worn out to try to figure out how to actually start printing now. I probably will once I finish my next my next character sculpt, because these are being done for book covers. I tried rendering them, and rendering is just a whole nother can of worms that I have no desire to learn. And plus, if I 3D print them, get them all cleaned up, and photograph them for the covers of the books, I can make molds and cast these guys and have statues to give away for prizes, or who knows, at some point people might actually want to buy them. I don't know. Unlikely, but it's possible. Monster says, that's one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of Formlabs. Their customer and tech support are great. I've heard that from many people. And as soon as I can afford it, better believe I'm getting one. By the time I can afford it, it's probably going to be a Form 3. Hey, Red Larian! Thanks for subscribing! What? Wow! Thank you! Thank you so much! You're the best! If I just get, let's see, I only need 1,000 more of you to subscribe, and then I could afford a Formlabs 3D printer. I've only run into a few minor issues with my printer, but they were great in getting everything working. You only need one kidney. Okay, yeah. That is true, you do. Technically, I was listening to a podcast with a guy who's part of the effective altruism movement, and his argument is that it is actually immoral not to, if you're a healthy person, you should just donate your kidney right now to anyone who is your blood type and could use it. Because statistically, the chances of you needing your second one are so low. You or a loved one that would be a match for you, like, that's so low that, most people are dying with both their kidneys, while there are people dying today with no kidneys. And it's hard to argue with that. Except I don't want to. I don't like surgery. It's kind of the same with Peter Singer's argument about the drowning child metaphor, where he says, imagine you're walking by a pond and there's a kid drowning in there, but you just bought new shoes that were like $3,000 shoes. And you're like, well, it would ruin my $3,000 shoes, so I'm not going to save them. And he's like, well, what have you bought? Because I think the number is like $3,000 will literally save anyone, the people who need saving the most in the world, $3,000 will do the trick. And so by not donating, if you have the ability to spend $3,000, you're not doing it. It's the equivalent of walking by a drowning child. Just because they're not there next to you doesn't make it less of an issue. I think I'm also going to get some of this gesso in the cracks of the hair where it doesn't need so much texture, and that's just going to grip onto the mold really tightly, make it harder to pop out and tear faster. Got the gesso anyway, I might as well use it. Magic Penguin has returned! Woohoo! Aletha, did that thought experiment disturb you? Or are you upset that a Magic Penguin has returned? It is a legitimately disturbing thought experiment. forces you to ask some really difficult questions. But I'm one of those people who likes to be made uncomfortable by that sort of thing. I'm a bit of a moral masochist, you could call it. I like being challenged and called out and being told what you're doing is wrong and then thinking long and hard about it. Because I really would like to be a good person and to do the best things. $3,000, then you get into the issue of how to get the money to them and in what form. Then you have the fallout of extra wealth, making that person a target of crime or destabilizing the local economy. Yes, these are all true things. That's something that the effective altruism organization, and well, there's probably multiple of them that are kind of within that oeuvre, are working on solutions for. There is, what is it called? There's a website that basically does an analysis of like dollar per lives saved sort of thing. Where they just look at it from a strictly like, how many lives can you save with your money by giving it to this organization versus that one? I believe mosquito netting is like the most bang for your buck number of lives saved. But then there's all sorts of other issues about that as well. It's complicated. There are no easy answers. Just give all the money to Aletha, and that'll be fine. Okay, yeah. Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, I mean, another big factor that assuages my guilt a little bit is the idea that people who are in parts of the world like ours, where we can afford 3D printers and doing art live streams, if we gave all of our money away and no longer had the ability to make 3D prints and do art live streams, we're diminishing culture making if we are completely concerned only with the survival of the most people, and at the expense of all other things, such as art, such as meaning, other meaning-making activities like religion and philosophy and these kind of things. We're impoverishing the world in a different kind of way. That's not the best defense. Another economic one that I've heard and or thought of myself, I can't remember which, I'll assume that I heard it because that's always safer, is that you actually can impoverish the entire world and make more suffering if there weren't affluent people like you and me who aren't starving. If everyone distributed all their money perfectly equally, which of course could never happen, but if you could, then you lose the, there's like what is it called? There's a certain amount of capital, there's a threshold that you need in order to push technological innovation and other things that improve all of the world for all people. And if everyone has the average amount of money, or wealth or whatever, that would end up being, you lose that. Again, these are all kind of not super well developed, but they are something to consider. Of course, it's much easier just to not think about it at all. That's the easiest solution. Monster Caesar said, "You listen to the Sam Harris podcast. Do you, I think? I have heard the mosquito nettings not getting used for fishing and wiping out fish populations." Oh, that could be. And yes, I do listen to the Sam Harris podcast. It is, in fact, my very favorite podcast. And I now listen to, gosh, I must have a collection of 30 podcasts I listen to regularly. It's funny, I went to the Sam Harris Facebook group thinking, man, I really like the way this guy thinks and communicates. Let me connect with some of other people who like that. And so far, most of my interactions on there, people have just been obnoxious jerks. not the thoughtful, consider all sides sort of environment that I was hoping for. Like, Sam Harris is the best person I know for setting the example of steel manning other people's arguments to the best of his ability. He's a human, he's biased, like everyone. He's not going to do it perfectly, but he legitimately tries, and he gives specific examples of him doing it. And no one on that group seems to think that's a worthy thing to do. They're just going to mock everyone who slightly disagrees at all. That annoys me. Monster says, "Sorry, my typing sucks. The mosquito nets are getting used for fishing and wiping out fish." That is to say that it's hard to be truly altruistic because it's impossible to know how aid will be utilized for unintended purposes. Yes, that is true. My hope is that it wouldn't dissuade people from trying and practicing and getting, oh, we learned this thing happened. How can we address that in the future to make it less likely to happen? That's what I hope is the takeaway from that, rather than, we should just give up, stop trying to help people who are in worse off situations than ourselves. That is a scary crevice in there. I could easily see that ripping a chunk of my mold away. I completely agree about the online community of Sam Harris fans. The Reddit group is full of pricks as well. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know what people like that see in him that I don't see in him, or vice versa. What is it about him that is attracting these people? I keep hearing him called like a bridge or whatever to the alt-right, and he's so not that. I don't get it. I mean, I believe that it happens. I don't understand how. Alethea, you're just going to give up and not help people? You know what? That is the standard procedure, so you will not be alone. I do my little thing, you know. I support a kid in Africa. Although I'm not super happy with the organization I do it through, but it's one of those things where I signed up for it like, I don't know, 12 years ago, and to stop now, if their literature is to be believed, is basically, okay, kid, sorry, you're out of luck, your sponsor dropped you. And so I want to at least wait till the kid's an adult to do that. Which, actually, come to think of it, I want to say he was 4 or 5 when I started, so he might pretty much be an adult at this point. His name's Nicky. And I used to tithe regularly at my church, even when I didn't think it was necessarily the right thing to do. And then eventually got to the point where it was like, you know what, I like having this amount of money set aside to just help people that I know when they need help. And that's more what my extra money is for. I don't question it. It's like, someone needs help, and I know that they're a responsible person. Both those things have to be in play. Yeah, don't even question it. Here you go, man. I feel like that is more in the mold of my hero Jesus than giving money to an institution to pay rent for a large building where people have social gatherings every week. Not that that is all that church does, but it's a large majority of it, and that's a lot of money going to it that could be helping people more directly. That's my religious screed for the day. Monster says, yeah, education seems to be the most effective. Help people help themselves. Yes, yes, yes. My parents both do missionary work in Rwanda, and building up their education infrastructure is kind of the top of the priority. They've been working on a college, like building the building, getting it sustainable within the economy that's there. My mom was helping them develop mushroom farming, which is not a thing that anyone has ever done there before. But it's like they have to find as many like micro revenue streams as possible, because you can't rely on one thing when you know your country doesn't have a super stable infrastructure, when you never know when a job's going to be around and that sort of thing. So my mom's really good at problem solving. Coming up with ideas for, you know, here's your specific local problem. Let's just try a bunch of creative things to come up with ways to solve them. I really admire that about her. Monster says, it's the same with Jordan Peterson. 95% of what he says I agree with, but the other 5% I abhor. His vocal fan base seems to support him for that 5%. Wow, Monster, you are like a absolute looking in the mirror. I'm exactly the same way. I was just on a road trip with my son, and we were listening to 12 Rules for Life, and you know, it was my son's graduation. You know, he just graduated high school, went on a road trip across the country. I was like, there's a lot of people talking about this book, a lot of young men that I know that are going gaga for it. let's listen to it and see if it brings up, interesting stuff to talk about. And it did, and it was great. But yeah, about 5% of what he says, I'm like, really, dude. And then yeah, it's, again, the vocal fans are just super obnoxious, super close-minded. I don't know. Openness to ideas is just such a core part of my personality. It's very hard for me to identify with people who are the opposite. Letha says, that's what I do as far as thinking goes. I also give a little to your parents' ministry thing in Rwanda. Awesome. Senior says, I'm with you on the foster child thing. My family has had several over the years, and as with you, it's not the best organization, but at least it's something. Yeah, I'm going to find a better organization once Nikki's grown up. One that I can fully feel good about. I was definitely fell victim to that thing where it's like, here's pictures of sad, starving kids. What are you going to do? Nothing? And the proper response for a mature thinking person is, well, let me research the problem. Let me look at various organizations that do work over there. Let me see third-party reports on their activity and their budgeting and blah, blah, blah. But I did what most people do, and it's like, oh my god, I have to help that person. Here's a check. Here's my commitment to support them. It's so arbitrary. That's kind of the message of a book that I really loved and I read last year called Against Empathy, that talks about how just all the cognitive biases that come into play with empathy, and how it's like our society has reflexively said that's the important thing to being a good moral person is empathy. And the author was saying, no, it's compassion. It's what was the word he used? I can't remember the exact word, but it's basically thinking hard about a thing, compassion, as opposed to reflexive empathy, just like motor neurons firing, because it's all up to the whims of people who are manipulating you, or your own brain manipulating you. And the way it's manipulating you is based on your pre-existing biases, which means it's going to necessarily end up being tribal and just not logical and well thought out, and not the most helpful thing for the most people. Letha says, I feel bad. I stopped sponsoring a few years ago I'm a terrible person. Oh my god, Letha. Terrible person. Oh, that's why my brushes were ruined. I stuck them in this cup of water last time, and there's no water in it. That's a problem when you're trying to clean brushes in a cup that has no water. But it does have my cool death metal Star Wars logo. See? The Force Awakens. It's hard to see on that cup, isn't it? That says Star Wars, by the way. That's STARWARS. For those of you who can't read English. Yeah. Anyways, I need to clean this brush, and I need to go eat food and take a shower and stuff. It's great chatting with you all. Nice to see someone with a similar mode of thinking. Mr. Monster, Caesar. I'm glad you stopped by. Hope you'll come again. Enjoyed talking to you a lot. Letha, you are a generous, kind-hearted, loving person who loves to help people around her and gives generously without thought of return, you are not a bad person. I know this for a fact. Yeah, so next stream will be Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, keep that in mind. I'm always live streaming on the Twitch channel, which there'll be a link in the bottom. You are Andrew Martin. We've commented back and forth on Facebook over the years. Okay, Andrew Martin. Excellent. I'll be sure to ping you afterwards so I can make sure to remember. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Wait. I want to give a shout out to, hold on. This is something I need to do that I haven't been doing. It just occurred to me. Okay. Red Larian has subscribed. Thank you, Red Larian, for subscribing 27 minutes ago. That was awesome. Okay, I'll see you guys all next time, Sunday. Bye.